Hey guys, how is everyone doing? So I just got done watching Creed 1 and 2. So what I'm going to be doing today, since my schedule kind of got a bit delayed last Friday, I'm going to do a mega review where I review both Creed movies leading up to Creed 3, which I will hopefully see tomorrow. And here are my thoughts on Creed 1. Starting off with my positives on Creed 1 is that how Creed had the same lifestyle as Rocky, where he kind of had like this crappy life where he had this job he didn't really care about, and he goes to this boxing place where he fights and does not make as much money, and he does his best to pretty much survive, and he goes to Rocky asking for help and all that. He just tries to live off his life just being just some guy and just wanting to fulfill his dreams on being a boxer, being well in the first Rocky movie. So Rocky did not potentially want to be this big time boxer. He only just became a fighter just to make money. That's kind of what um Creed does in this movie. He just tries to be this guy that just likes to fight. He doesn't really want to be this big time fighter. He just fights because of his father who sadly died in Rocky 4, which I thought was a nice thing to bring along with this new series, which I honestly liked how they just created this new character kind of like Rocky. Speaking of Rocky, I'm glad to see that Sylvester Stallone reprised his role as Rocky nearly 10 years later after Rocky Balboa came out, which it's just always a nice thing to see Sylvester Stallone where he's not really the main character of this one. He's kind of just co-star now because this is not his franchise. This is the Creed franchise, and he's just there to help Creed become this big time boxer that Rocky was. And Creed wants him to train him because he was friends with his father and all that, and he wants him to train him. And yeah, I just really like seeing Rocky and Sylvester Stallone back. And one of the things that I liked seeing in this movie, which was when Rocky was jogging down notes for him and like writing down things like he wants him to do, like, okay, I'm gonna write this down. I want you to do this. I want you to do that, and all that. And then he just takes a picture and he goes, like, don't you want this? He's like, oh, it's okay. I have it in here. And he goes, what if that thing like breaks? Oh, it's okay. It's on the cloud. What cloud? I kind of already mentioned this in Rocky 5, but this is when Rocky actually becomes the new Mickey. In Rocky 5, he kind of sets him up as that when he's training Tommy, but in this franchise, he officially becomes the new Mickey when he trains Creed, where he tells him to do all this stuff. He trains him the way Mickey would have, like with the chicken, where he just throws it on the ground and Creed has to chase around and try and grab it. That's what Mickey did in Rocky 2, actually, I want to believe. It's just nice to see Rocky actually become the new Creed. Now, in Rocky 5, he wasn't exactly the new Mickey, where he was just kind of the new Mickey, but at the same time, he wasn't. Where he was just training Tommy, he was telling him what to do, what's right to do, and all that. But in this one, he finally becomes the new trainer of this franchise, which he is not in Creed 3 because of creative differences, and it's going to be a shame not to see Sylvester Stallone in Creed 3. Another star I want to talk about is Michael B. Jordan. Now, I will admit, I'm not the biggest fan of Michael B. Jordan. He is no Sylvester Stallone by any means, but I like him in this movie. He is not that bad. He is a damn good actor in this movie. This movie pretty much created his career, created just everything about him. That's why how this movie is very related to Rocky is that, so, like Rocky, that movie created Sylvester Stallone's career. And Creed created Michael B. Jordan's career, where he was not this big actor. He was in a few projects that were successful, but he was never this huge actor in Hollywood at the time. But once Creed 1 and Creed 2 came out, and then Black Panther, he became at the top of the world because actually it was because of this movie he got the role of the Killmonger, or whatever however the hell you pronounce his name, in Black Panther. This movie created his career, and he's a damn good actor in it. Like Sylvester Stallone and Rocky, some of his lines are pretty cringe-worthy, make you think like, want to run that again? But I like Michael B. Jordan in this, not although I'm not the biggest fan of him, but what he does in this is pretty damn good. I like the soundtrack of this movie, where it's very old school and the new generation, where you get the original Rocky theme, but it's updated in the new world in a way, I guess I could say it, but at the same time, I'm like, how should I phrase this? It's kind of updated, I guess I should say, where the original classic Rocky theme that everyone should at least know or at least listen to it, it is updated for a newer audience, and they even have modern rap in here. And if I'm not mistaken, one of Juicy World's song is in this. And if not, then I'm sorry. But yeah, I just like the soundtrack, and it's something that I haven't mentioned in the other Rocky movies. It's just nothing I really thought about pointing out, but in this one, it really stood out to me. I'm like, oh, this music is good, man. Like how oh God, what's her name? I forget the girl's name, but Michael B. Sorry, Creed's girlfriend. I forget her name. Like she is a performer and a singer, but her music is pretty damn good. It's the reason why I like the soundtrack. You get updated Rocky theme, you get some modern rap, and you get the music performed by Creed's girlfriend, which was the girl who was in the Thor movies. Her name's Bianca. I just now remembered that. And no, I did not look it up. Moving on to my mixed aspect, where there were scenes in this movie where Rocky is diagnosed with cancer, which I will talk about later. And it's very tragic. You worry about this character. Now, when this movie first came out, I bet a lot of people were watching it like, oh, is this going to be the final film where we see Sylvester Stallone as Rocky? This is the last we will ever see of Rocky, but no. We see him in Creed 2, which I will talk about when I review that film, where where he has cancer. And now, if people follow the cancer thing, or if you had any family members or friends or loved ones that have had cancer, you notice that they kind of lose their hair. They usually shave it, they kind of shave off all their hair to show that they have cancer. Now, this is more of a nitpick, if anything, that bothers me, because it doesn't bother me too much, but at the same time, it's just so hard not to notice where there were some scenes where Sylvester Stallone had hair, it didn't have hair. Like when they're training, like the training montage, there are scenes where Rocky has hair, and then there's parts where he doesn't have hair. For me, it was very hard for me not to notice because when I was watching it, I'm like, well, he has hair here, and he doesn't have hair here now. It was very distracting. Now, I don't know if that was just the way they shot it, where they just shot it where he had hair, but then they shaved it and they just put the different scenes here and there for it to be like, hey, this scene happened for this or that, or it was just an honest mistake that they forgot to cut out. But for me, it was just very hard not to notice that, but it's more of a nitpick, if anything, a mixed aspect. Like I said, this is a thing that isn't really a thing that I should be talking about, but at the same time, it was just so hard for me not to notice. Now, moving on to my negatives. Creed is a whiny bitch in this movie. He constantly whines in this movie, where when where he's at that boxing ring thing where he's like fighting a bunch of people. He's like, "Who's next? Come after me! I can beat you!" But he gets his ass knocked down within 2 minutes. And then there's a scene where Rocky's like telling him like he doesn't want to do it or something like that. I can't remember what exactly he said, but he was telling because he had cancer and he's like, I don't want to do the chemo thing. But Chris like, I'm not gonna do this if you don't do the chemo thing. And then he's like, we're not actually family and all this. And then he walks away because he's a giant wuss. And then he goes into jail because he punched a guy, called him Baby Creed. Do you see what I'm talking about here? All in all, guys, I thought this was a damn good movie. This is a welcome return to the franchise of the Rocky character, and it is a modern age for newer audience if you think that the Rocky movies are old or something. But I think that this is one of those movies where if you were ever going to have the same character but have like a new franchise, this is the perfect example for that. So absolutely add this to your collection and go out and buy it. So what did you guys think of Creed 1? Is this your favorite of the Rocky franchise? Is this your least favorite? Is it in the middle? Do you think this is a welcome return to the franchise? Let me know in the comments below and we will talk about it. And if you liked half of this video, like it. If you loved half of this video, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified from my latest videos. Now let's move on to Creed 2. Starting off with my positives on Creed 2 is the return of Draco. He is easily my favorite villain of Rocky 4. I don't want to say villain because Apollo Creed is not a villain in any way, shape, or form in the first two Rocky movies because him and Rocky eventually become friends and they train together. That's why I have a hard time saying villains when it comes to Rocky franchise because then they end up turning good. Overall, I like seeing Draco back. He is easily my favorite contender of the Rocky franchise and his relationship with his son where he's training his son become like him so he can be a better boxer so he wouldn't end up like him when he fought Rocky and he wants him to fight Creed. He kind of forces his child to do all of these things and I just like seeing Draco back and he wants his son to succeed. He doesn't want him to turn out to be the way he was when he was his age pretty much and it's just nice to see Draco back. I don't know the complete story on why he came back, but I'm just glad to see he's back. And I like how Creed 1 follows the path of the first Rocky, but this one kind of follows the path of Rocky 2 and 3. It follows the path of Rocky 2 is where you get the baby and Creed becoming champion because in Rocky 2, Adrian finds out that she is pregnant and that they're about to have a child, but has the child before Rocky faces of Creed again, where it's the same thing here, where not Rocky, Creed is about to go fight Draco again, but he has a baby, and he finds out that that the lady is pregnant before, like, only 30 minutes in the movie, actually. And where it follows Rocky 3 is where, not technically, but Creed kind of loses the first fight with Draco, like Rocky 3, where Clubber beats Rocky in the first fight, and then they're training again, and then they go and fight, and Creed and Rocky both won. It's a very interesting path where they took kind of both paths of Rocky 2 and Rocky 3. Maybe that was just me who noticed it, maybe because I'm just now getting introduced to this franchise and I'm noticing all this stuff, but I don't know, maybe other people noticed it. And I like the first fight with Creed and the Draco's son where they're fighting, but like I said, Creed kind of loses but doesn't, but it's like a kind of disqualification because Draco hit Creed when he was down and all that, so it caused a disqualification. But it also shows Creed can't do anything without Rocky because he pretty much needs Rocky to train him on how to fight because Rocky fought Draco and he knows how he would train his son. And so Creed kind of needs Rocky for him to face Draco. And it's a nice I don't know if that was written that way or if that's just the way I see it, but I like to think that was the way it was written because that's how it feels it was written. But unlike the first Creed movie, I think the training montage in this one's better where they're in the desert island. He has to punch tires. He has to slam a sledgehammer onto a tire. He has to run in the desert when it's freaking 100 degrees outside while Rocky's driving. He even passes out because it's so hot from all that energy is wasting pretty much. And it's just, I would honestly like to see someone training in the middle of the desert like he does here, where he's like punching tires, slamming the sledgehammer, running as fast as he can in the desert. Actually, I should try that. No, I just passed out the first 5 minutes. And I like the final fight in this movie, where you finally get the showdown with Creed and Draco, and it was very suspenseful because when they were both fighting, they would both get up after every hit, every beat and they take, and even the announcers like, "These people have fought through hell. How the hell are they standing up?" and all that. And I'm sitting when I was sitting here watching the movie, I'm like, yeah, like how are these guys standing up? This is a hell of a beat. At the same time, I don't have any muscles. And then, like, after the fight, Draco finally realizes that his son is done. He can't take any more beatings. and throws in the towel, which is not a bad way to go out because it shows how Draco has realized that Creed is the better fighter than his son, but he's not disappointed in his son. He's proud of his son for what he tried to do. He is proud of his son for the effort that he put in and all the hell that he made him go through. And it's a very sweet moment at the end of there, but I watched other reviews on this and no one seemed to talk about that. It's really a bummer because it's a nice little hint that a lot of people missed. Now moving on to my negatives. Creed is a whiny bitch yet again. Where after he fights Draco for the first time, he's all beaten up, one of his eyes are closed, he broke a few ribs, and he has to go to therapy where he's got to like learn how to walk again and learn how to use his body to rebuild itself. And he blames Rocky for it. He tells Rocky, he's like, you should have trained me. You should have just trained me. You should have just manned it up and all that. I'm like, dude, he didn't want to do it. You were about to force him to do it. You agreed to this fight. It's your fault that you're in the hospital right now. I almost wanted to get in the screen and start slapping the shit out of him for saying that. At the same time, he could have beat me up. Just think happy thoughts. Think, think, think happy thoughts. Where it just bugged me that he blames Rocky for him being in the hospital, and then he starts yelling at his wife that he can walk. When she's like, "Come on, just let me walk. I can do it." When his own kid is crying, he doesn't know how to get him. He's like just holding her. He doesn't try to give her milk. He doesn't try anything. He just calls his mom. I mean, maybe I do that, but I would at least try not just hold the baby in my arms while it's crying and be like, "Hey, mom, how do you get this baby to stop crying?" Remember when I was reviewing Creed 1 and I talked about Rocky having cancer? They completely forget about it. They mention it once in this movie, and that's about it. They don't say anything else about it. They're just like, I helped Rocky when he had cancer, and then like the rest of the movie, they don't bring it up. I mean, for when Creed 1 first came out, I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be a one and done, but since its success, they decided to make another Creed movie. Can you at least bring up how Rocky got over the fight against cancer? Did he go to chemo? What happened? They don't say anything. They just they, they were just like, oh yeah, I bet like when they were writing this movie, they just when they're writing it, they're like, oh yeah, Rocky had cancer in the first movie. Oh, just write a random scene, just about cancer, just random scene. All in all, guys, this was a passable Rocky film slash Creed film, whatever the hell you want to say. I thought this movie was just fine. The standout was the Return of Draco, but he didn't have much to do, but what he had to do was pretty good. But this is probably the second Rocky film in this entire franchise where I would just say just go ahead and scream it. So what did you guys think of Creed 2? Is this your favorite? Or are you like me and you're like, it was just okay? But let me know in the comments below and we will talk about it. And if you enjoyed this entire video, hit the like button. But if you love to subscribe and hit the bell notifications so you will get notified for my latest videos. But until my next review, take care.